Well, hello and welcome to Workshop Studios. It's time to fix this again. Apparently it's broken. So we're going to give it a try. Let's see what's wrong with it. Well, apparently the motor is not running at all anymore. So we'll have to take it apart and see what's wrong with that motor. Alright, so I used the utility knife to cut the hot glue away that we put on last year. And here's the big reveal. Let's see what the problem is. Well, that would explain it. Wires aren't in the motor anymore. And we'll have to figure out why that is. So I think the wires go in here, but we're going to have to take the motor apart to be able to see where they hook inside. So we'll get these two screws off. It's easier this time because this was not screwed on. We did that last time. And again, I'll put that link for the last video up top there. Alright, so we're taking the motor out, and like I said, the wires probably go in the back here, so we're going to have to take this case apart again. That means we'll bend this edge back away from this, and this little lid will come off. So last time we got this far, and we fixed that gear right there, and it looks like it's still holding up, I guess. Let's try it out here. I'm going to take it off of here. Put it in here and we'll see if everything turns. Yeah, it looks like it's working still. Well, so we're going to assume the gears are all right, but we need to get to the motor, and that's down at the bottom of this. And there is, put this back over here still. There isn't any way to access it from here. It's a sealed case. And so I'm going to have to actually try to get down through this into there. And it might be that I can just lift. May not be obvious to you guys, but it looks like that this is kind of a cup inside of this case. So if I can get this cup up that's got all the gears in it, I might be able to access the motor, and I think I'll do that by trying to pry in here and see if I can gently get it to move up. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I take this and I'm going to try to catch just this edge and see if I can't push this motor out from up here. I don't want to damage the motor though while I'm doing it, so I'm going to try to be very careful. So I'm going to try to push in there and see if I can push the whole thing out. Well, I tried tapping it out of there and it wasn't budging, and I don't want to break it if I can help it, because that's the end of this if I do. So I thought I'd go back and re-examine here, and there's one of the wires, and the other one is over here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's in there. Let's see if I can move this slightly so you can see it. There it is, kind of sticking right up at you. Right there. So I don't know why this came off of here, but what I think what I'll do is I'll solder the little wires back on, and then I'll put a blob of hot glue to hold those wires from pulling on that, because I suspect that's what happened, is that this was soldered on there and the wires just pulled on it. So I will go ahead and get those on. These wires that I'm going to solder on there are going to look huge. I'll show you what they look like before I start getting started. So that's what I'm going to solder on there. They aren't that big, but they look that way compared to that. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll see if the motor actually works. Okay, I think I've got it all soldered up. Let's try it out. I'm going to turn the power on, see what happens. And nothing. Okay, well that didn't work. Well, the motor is not going to get fixed. Something internally is broken in this. And so we're going to order a new one. Hooray. Turns out Amazon has these, and I will put a link down below, amazingly enough. So that will come in a number of days, and it'll be like instant to you, but we'll have to wait a couple of days for this to come in. So if your motor has gone out, I would suggest maybe just buying it off of Amazon. It's $10 or something like that. Okay, let's move on to the next fix on this. So the next thing is this little plastic template, if you might, or holder for the magnets that make the skaters go around has fallen to pieces, and it seems to be very fragile. It's breaking all over the place. So I can either clean this up and try and reuse some of these parts, or I can just make a new plastic thing to go with it and glue these onto the new plastic one. And I'm kind of inclined to make a new one of these, because this one is just like ready to fall to pieces. Just use this as a template and cut out a new one. So let me look into that. Well, luckily in my hoard I have some old plastic lids off of this is a Rubbermaid tub of some sort, and I think that will be perfect for making a new one of these. So I just need to outline it, and then I'll try and find, I think I've got some magnets that I can use so I don't even have to tear this apart, and then try to get this, because this goes in here, get that. I need to get this apart so I can get it in there, so I'll try and take this apart next. So the way this works is the plastic fits in between here, and then it's supposed to be nice and slippery so that this goes round and round and doesn't catch on it. But that's what was happening on the old one, I believe, is that it was catching on this part here, and that's why all this black stuff is here, is this was just catching and may have burned the motor out trying to turn it around. So so this goes in between the plastic. Let's see if I can show you here. Goes in between it like this. Like that. And then it's supposed to go round and round. Actually, it's the other way around. It's like this because the magnet goes up like this. This is the magnet for one of the figurines here. So it slips in there like that, and it's supposed to go very freely. It's supposed to go around, and it's not at this point. So I want to take this off of here, and there's a little plastic cap which is also falling to pieces, so I may have to redo this as well. But let's go ahead and see if we can get this off in one piece. I'm going to try to pry up on this with a utility knife. See if it'll just pull off of there. I'm hoping it will without breaking to pieces. Well, something's happening. Oh, man. This plastic is just really falling to pieces. Anyhow, I got it apart. I'm not sure about this lid, but that's apart now. And do you see the plastic is broken off here? I'm going to try to get that off of there. It was glued on there, but so that little, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm going to have to make something new for this one to hold that on there. That shouldn't be too difficult. So we've got that apart now. That goes in there like that. And you know, the simplest thing to do is not build something that has a recess to it like that, but to just glue something flat on the top. And what I might do is use the same material that I'm going to make the new framework out of. This material, I'll replace this with the green lid, and I'll take a little of that green lid so I can glue it on here. That should do it, I'm hoping. Okay, good. Now, so what I'll do is clean these parts up so that it's back to being nice and slippery. Oops, gotta get in there. So this is a bearing surface here, if you want to call it that. This surface here and this surface here. These are both bearing surfaces here. So I want to get those nice and clean and smooth so that when I put a new cap on here, it'll rotate very easily. By the way, I was just moving this part from one spot to another, and this magnet broke off of here and fell out. So clearly this plastic is about ready to come unglued, and just, it's going to be a mess. So it's a good thing we're going to build a replacement to it, because this was, I don't know what it was made out of, but it certainly wasn't very strong. Alright, so first thing we'll do is do an outline. get it organized here. So this is the broken bit, so I'm going to take this out, give myself a little extra there, and I'll trim it off later as I need to. Alright, and then we got to do these. There's one there. I'll do this one here so I know where that magnet goes, but the rest of them I think I can figure out. Here's one here. Okay, good. Let me go ahead and cut that. So here's some magnets I have just in my hoard, and they're about the right thickness. It's just that they're going to stick up kind of high on this one. So I may go ahead and cut a hole in this that these can push through, and then maybe hot glue the other side so they're about the same depth, height, if you might, from the surface there. Don't want them to be too high up. I think it'll make this kind of not work as well. So I'm going to punch those holes that are just this size, just barely big enough for them to push through, and then so they'll be held in place by both this and by the hot glue I'll put on the other side. A while ago I bought these, I guess you call them hole punches. It's a little kit that comes together, and you can punch holes in things with them. They're just pretty simple. They're just a tube with but I haven't had a chance to use them, so here we go. I get a chance to use them now. So I'll see if we've got sizes that'll fit these. Well, this hole punches didn't work, so I went to a Forester's bit, and that does a nice job. So this size is just perfect for these magnets. I use the kind of scrap material to try it out, so it pushes right through, and then I can get some glue on there so that it's the right depth to match what we had. Yeah, that'll work out perfect. And then I also drilled a test hole here that's going to match up to what this hole needs to be. So it matches up nicely. And this hole has to go basically with, if you remember this, where the motor hooks on here, there's a hole here that this is then going to line up with. So the motor goes through that hole, and then this is going to rotate. Actually, it's I believe it on this side, so that hole will line up here. The motor's on this side, and then this will end up rotating as the motor turns the little template around and round. Okay, so we got the holes drilled, and that template is made. Now let's see if we can get the hinge back on this. I think I'm going to call it that, the hinge part. And we'll put the magnets in to 1, 2, and this is where the other magnet went here. There's a spot for another skater here, but we don't have one, so I'm not going to put a magnet there. So magnets just push in there, really. That. I need to check out the pole and make sure I get the correct pole so the skaters will stick to it. Let's see if I can figure that out here. So we want it to be the pole that, like that. So this one should turn around, I think. Yeah, so it should be like this. There we go. The next one, yep, like that. There we go. And the next one, like that. Actually, that one is going to be the hinge. this one here. So this should go down here. There we go. So there's the magnets in there. Now we'll see if we can get that hinge on there. Okay, so we have our hinge point here is now ready to be glued onto the other side. So I'm going to put just a little bit of hot glue and another piece of this green right on top of there. I'll cut out a piece, and that'll hold our hinge into place. And then I think I'm going to put just a dab of hot glue kind of around this. I think part of what they were doing is trying to keep the weight very light so that it would move around and not offer a lot of resistance. So I'm going to try likewise to do that with this one. And I may have to actually cut out like these sections. Not this one, obviously, but I could cut this section out and maybe a little bit up in here and down in here to try and just lighten up the weight, but still have the strength, because this is a very nice rigid material. But we'll try it out. Once we get the motor and put it in, we'll put this all together, and then we'll see if it works. By the way, there are replacement parts for this as well. And I'll put some links down below. There wasn't anything on Amazon, but there are a couple other websites that had replacement parts. But it starts to get kind of pricey when you're buying parts from those folks. So in my case, I'm trying to keep this repair as inexpensive as possible. It's a lovely little decoration for Christmas, but I certainly don't want to go overboard and be spending a ton of money on it if I can help it. So, and plus, hey, we get to fix it this way and, cut out our own templates. So there's the fun part of it. All right. Well, the motor came in from Amazon, and let's see if it matches up. Open it up here. All right, so let's take her out of here, and let's see if it matches up. So far so good. Let's get these wires bent out of the way here. Be gentle with them. Okay, so the shaft looks like it's in the right place. The tabs look like they match up nicely. And the wires come out here on this one. And yeah, well, it's close. It's the wires are over here slightly. What I did on this motor, this is the original one, is that I used these numbers off the back of it. And let me do a quick explanation so you can see what I've kind of figured out. First of all, this number up in here is helpful, but what I really had to look for was, first of all, it was 120 volts, which is this one here. 60 hertz is just regular. A 3-watt motor, they're different watts for the motors, meaning different power if you want. But this was really kind of the most important thing, is they went, the motor turns at 5 to 6 RPM counterclockwise. That's what the CCW stands for. So now it might work clockwise as well. The skaters would go the different direction, but I'm sure it probably would work. So the motor I got had all of those different features. Let's see if it's written on here at all. I don't see it on the package. No, I don't see it on the package, and it's not written on the motor. Well, wait a minute. Here it is. It is written on the motor. So we've got 120 volts. That's 110 to 130. And 5 to 6 RPM. This one was 5 to 6 RPM. And this one says counterclockwise. Now this one says 3 watts. This one says 4 watts. So this may have a little more power, which is fine. And it's got all the gears in it. That's the other important part. Is, you remember we took this apart and all the gears came out of here. So all the gears are in here, and it already works that way. So let's go ahead and wire it up and just make sure that it's working the way we expect. All right, so I have it wired into the little wires that come with the skating rink. And here we go. Let me zoom in here so you can see what happens when I turn the switch. And there we go. Round and round it goes. So I think we got a winner here. So let's go ahead and put her back together and see if those skaters skate. And our little updated template works too. All right, so here's the motor on the plastic housing, and it fits right in there, and the holes line up and everything. Amazing, isn't it? Isn't that wonderful? So, because we've already taken the rivets out before, we can just put our screws back in here. I think this is the right way. Actually, I think I want to put the screws up from the bottom, so let me do that while I'm off camera here, because I'm going to have to move this thing around. Okay, so I got it all back together, and you can see the little magnets are moving the way that they're supposed to. And you can kind of see the outline of this magnet coming around. And so I think we're close on this one. But what I'm experiencing is this is not the original piece that I had in there. This one is I'll show you in a minute what it is, but I had to replace it because the piece that was in there, this little ring, was kind of thinly made, and it just fell to pieces, and I couldn't put it back together on on this one. So I found this as a substitute, which makes it difficult maybe for you to fix, but you may be able to find something yourself to do that. So round and round it goes, and the motor is working, and everything's going back together. So let me go and do a little bit more work on my new shaft here, because this is what I'll show you when it comes around here. This is what this arm is attached to right here. So I'll show you that. All right, so let me take this apart, and you can see what I've done here. So here's the little arm that attaches to the motor, and this circle is where this piece went, and a magnet fit into the middle of that. But this is not enough material to allow this to clamp together and hold it, because the plastic has to be between these two. So I struggled with what to do there, and I came up with this, which is a piece of plastic off of the end of a threaded rod, and it's just meant to be a protector so you don't get the rod banging into things. I think I got this one off of a bicycle that we had bought. This was screwed onto the back axle and to help protect it. But it turns out to be close to the perfect size, and so it gives me plenty of material to work with. And then this plastic bit will end up sliding on this surface. So I think this will work. I'm trying to think of another way to do this would be more, something that you all would have in your kit bag, but I'm going to go ahead and try this one and see how it comes together. Well, there was one small difference on this motor, and that is the post. The part that this screws into, this post was a little too tall, and so I needed to put some spacers underneath. So you can see there's a gap here between the motor and this plastic, and that took the top of this down. Now I could have cut that off of there, but I didn't want to. I'll show you what it looks like underneath. There we go. So you can see that I've used some washers to do some spacing, and I've just lifted this motor away from here. So there's some spacers here and on the other side over here, and so that means that post now allows the mechanism to go around as it should. So this part here, oops, gotta get back over the camera. This part here needs to not hit as this goes round and round, and I'll show you what that looks like here. Let me get this set up here. Okay, so I've got it in there, and I'll turn it on. Okay, so as it goes around, you can see right there where that passed underneath. This needs to slide on top, and this needs to not hit there. And that's what was happening when that post was too high. It was hitting our little template here, our guide for the magnets. So now that this is low enough, it doesn't hit anything, and everything slides very nicely. I'm going to go ahead and use some silicone grease underneath on the bottom of these. It's something you use in plumbing a lot, and it's very, very slippery, and it should help to keep this whole area moving smoothly, because these magnets are now riding on this surface, and I want to keep that as smooth as possible. Now I also may polish the bottom of the magnets with some emery cloth, and that'll help to make sure that they go continually smooth. The last thing I wanted to show you was that I'm going to I've decided to go ahead and I'll cut this off and leave just a little bit of a post there, and then I'm going to use this magnet there to glue on top, and that will actually glue it down. So that's my approach right now, and I'll show you when I get all those done. All right, so here's what the situation looks like now. So here's our little guide, and this goes on here, and this is what I've done to this part is I've shaved this down as thin as I think I can get it here, and then also down here, because I don't want this one to sit any higher than these guys. So I would like this height to be just about the same, so that they'll ride carefully or comfortably around like that. And then I thought I have these magnets like this, and I thought I'd use a bigger one and put a big daub of hot glue right there and basically glue that onto that surface, allowing this to pivot. So we'll see how that works. Let's give it a try. I thought it might be easier to see it from this angle. So you can see this is the distance I wanted to keep right here. I'm just going to point. That gap right there is what I was trying to mimic by shaving that down. And then this one on top, what I'm trying to do is get the height of this magnet about the same height as that magnet's going to be, and all of these, so that they'll ride basically evenly on the surface of the that the skaters are on. So again, we'll see how that all works out. And one last thing before I assemble is I put silicone grease. Let's find it here. This stuff. It's called waterproof grease or silicone grease. It's a clear material like that. Just make sure that everything is slippery. So I want to put it on those surfaces, and I'll put it on that surface on either side, and then the hot glue will go in the middle there. So I've greased up here, here on the bottom of this one, and I'll grease up this surface on either side. Okay, time for the hot glue. That might be a little bit much, but we'll see how that works. I'll let that dry and show you how that all came together. Well, it seems to be working the way it's supposed to. So the magnet can do this. This can rotate, and the magnet can rotate. And everything seems to be solid. Let's turn it over here and make sure. So that's rotating. A little hot glue came through that hole there. Get rid of that. But you can see I've greased up here and in between everything, so it should rotate just fine. Well, let's give it a try. Well, there you go. I think that's working now. Now this, interestingly, this one is rotating, this magnet. These won't. But that just means the skater will end up going around doing even fancier moves. Let me get a skater out here for you so you can see what I mean. So the skater will end up going around a little bit more. They'll look like they're really pretty fancy. All right, let's put it back together and see how it looks. Well, there we go. They're going round and round again. Now this one's going backwards. And this one keeps kind of losing connection. And I think the magnet's not close enough to the surface on this. Plus this is a little wobbly. So I may work on that a little bit. See how it catches, the magnet catches there now, and then all of a sudden it goes. So I need to get those magnets so they're running right next to the surface of this. All right, there it is, back together. Well, mostly. And the skaters are skating. A little jerky on some of them, but maybe that grease will kind of wear in on it. But I think this new motor is very powerful and probably better than the original one. So I think we got an upgrade on that. And all the skaters are happy. They told me so, by the way. And hopefully you can have good luck with your skating pond decoration this year, and that you won't need to do it again like I did. Alrighty, well, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Catch you on the next video. Bye.